Hey, what up? Welcome back to another video on one of the YouTube channels ever, and today we're going to be talking about what seems to be the closest we're going to get to an actual response from Cody Co. And yeah, I know I'm just as upset as everyone else that this response isn't coming from him himself, but like I said, it seems like this is as close as we're going to get, because really the only thing that we have from Cody Co himself regarding this situation is him stepping down from TMG Studios, the podcast that he ran with Noel Miller, and that's not even really a response. And on top of that not even being an actual response, I also heard that he's not even leaving the company. I initially thought that him stepping down meant he was leaving the company altogether, but it looks like he's still gonna be involved in the company, but just working from the sidelines. And speaking of us just not getting a response from him at all, that really just made me realize how rare of a choice that is. Pretty much every creator that's in any sort of drama whatsoever always responds. It's super rare for them to just not say anything whatsoever, not even come out with a tweet and like lightly address it. But talking about him not responding aside and getting into what we actually do have, like I said before, it's sadly not coming from Cody himself, but it is coming from his podcast's co-host, Noel Miller. And his response comes from the first few minutes in his most recent episode, Going Off Grid. So we're going to be taking a look at that now.
Before we start this episode, I want to start by saying thank you for just how supportive and understanding you all have been, and patient above all. And understandably, a lot of you want to know what I have to say about everything that's happened. And the reality there is that I'm not in a position to speak about the situation. And at this point, really, the thing I have to focus on is how to move forward. Which leads me to say, I want to thank everyone as well that just sent me messages of support, just directly to me. That has been just very motivating and reassuring, not just for me, but for everyone at the studio. That's kind of given us the energy we needed to, take the first step back. I took some time and figured out a new direction for the show and where I want the company to go overall.
I kind of want to start this off by saying I'm not really the biggest fan of how he didn't specifically address the situation or at least say what Cody did was wrong, but when it comes down to it, I also understand him not really wanting to be involved in it, especially considering that not only was he not even the one that did anything wrong, but he's also the one that ended up having to respond to this and also receiving a ton of the backlash and just general consequences from what Cody did. So I 100% understand him not really wanting to get more involved in it than he already is. I also can't really help but to kind of feel bad for Noel because, like I just said, even though he's not even the one that did anything wrong, he's still gonna have to face a ton of different consequences, like the podcast having to take a pretty big hit. And you can already see a bit of this from even the comments on the podcast, like this one right here. Noel looks so run down from this. Never seen him so serious. This feels like when you go to your divorced dad's apartment for the first time and he's trying to have dinner like your whole life didn't just change dramatically. And probably the one that really explains the whole situation the best right here. I really feel bad for Noel. It's not his fault and he's just caught in the crossfire, which I really couldn't agree with more.
In studio, it's actually kind of a crazy story. We flew to West Virginia, drove through a creek bed, hiked half a mile with the gear to film with the guest, and it turned out to be just a great story overall. We'll be filming out of studio for the next few weeks, and that's just because I want to build a new set, and that's kind of the plan. Again, I just want to thank you all. You have supported me for years, almost a decade, and you've supported this studio for years, and we all fully intend to give you what you've given us for so long. That part is not going to stop. So, yeah, it means the world to me just how much you all have been there for me, and I fully intend to, just keep at it and keep making things that I hope you love and enjoy.
It looks like Cody Co and really any other creator that's had to make any sort of response to some drama might want to whip out that notepad and start taking notes, because this is how you do a response or statement. There's no ukuleles, no fake tears, and no severe lapses in his judgment. He just got on the camera, addressed what needed to be addressed, and then also told everyone the next steps that he's going to be taking for the show. I'm going to just go ahead and give this a A+ for as far as statements go, and I might actually raise it even higher, because not only is this a great response, but on top of that, he's not even the one that should be responding. He's sitting here doing what Cody Co couldn't. So this might just be the first S-tier response that I've seen in quite some time. But getting into what he actually said in his response about continuing the podcast, and kind of tying into what I said earlier, it looks like the podcast definitely is going to be taking a hit, at least judging by what a lot of people are saying. And it's not like they're necessarily even hating or anything, it's just that after this first episode, a lot of people are saying things like either the show is boring or it's changed a lot in a not so great way, and all I can really say is, even though I've never really watched their podcast, I've heard it's good from a ton of different people, so I can really only hope he does find a way to make the show enjoyable enough to where he doesn't lose a lot of fans, because from what I'm seeing, he seems like a pretty cool dude, so it'd be super messed up for the podcast to take a huge hit when he's not even the one that did anything wrong. I'm also sure it doesn't really need to be said, but it's obviously also not even his fault if the podcast is now a bit boring or a bit different, because it's definitely going to take him some time to get used to being the solo podcast host when he's literally been doing it for years with Cody.
And understandably, a lot of you want to know what I have to say about everything that's happened, and the reality there is that I'm not in a position to speak about the situation. And at this point, really, the thing I have to focus on is how to move forward.
Now, like I said earlier, as nice as it would have been to hear him give his actual thoughts on this situation, I definitely do understand him not really wanting to get more involved into this situation than he already is. Because when it really comes down to it, even if he did respond, that wouldn't even change anything. Because I'm sure his thoughts on the situation are pretty much the same as everyone else's. Even if he came out and said, "Oh yeah, that was disgusting what he did, I don't agree with it at all," that really wouldn't make a difference, and if anything, all it would lead to is people being able to criticize him more, which it seems like for some odd reason they're already doing a ton of. And that's really one of the most surprising parts of this situation for me, because it's not even like it's just him either. It's him, Cody's wife, and really anyone that was close to Cody, which I truly don't understand, because it doesn't really need to be said, but those people aren't Cody, nor do they influence his actions, nor have they came out defending him. So I honestly have absolutely no idea why people would be attacking them. It seems like the only plausible reason is that they can't really attack Cody because he's not responding at all, so they'll just go to the next closest thing, which of course still doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But for now, it seems like that's where the situation is gonna be wrapping up, and it's looking like we might never get a response from Cody himself. And after all of this, I really just feel bad for Noel and really everyone around Cody, because it seems like they're almost taking a bigger hit than Cody when they're not even the ones that did anything wrong. But with that being said, that pretty much wraps everything up, and if you made it this far in the video, you probably liked something, so you may as well drop a like and maybe even subscribe. We're trying to hit 1,000 subs before the year is over, so every sub counts. But I'm not gonna hold y'all for too long, so I'll catch you guys in the next one.